this and that and the other. We don't want to hear about it. And we don't want to see cheap moves like AI that is used to the point that your star calls you out in freaking public. I mean, are you kidding me? Let's look at this. Right here. This was AI created, by the way.
That clip perfectly sums up the exact disaster that is currently unfolding right in front of our eyes on social media. In the high-stakes world of professional sports, there is an unspoken but golden rule that every single front office, marketing director, and social media manager knows by heart. You protect your superstar, and you elevate their image at all costs. And in the entire history of the WNBA, there has arguably never been a single asset more valuable, more influential, or more economically transformative than Caitlin Clark. Since she first stepped onto the hardwood for the Indiana Fever, the entire league has witnessed a meteoric, gravity-defying rise in viewership, ticket sales, merchandise revenue, and mainstream cultural relevance. But recently, a massive, embarrassing crack has appeared in the relationship between the superstar and her own organization. And the craziest part? It did not happen because of a missed shot, a blown play, or a tense locker room argument after a tough loss. It happened in the comment section of Instagram, and it is entirely the fault of the Fever's own marketing department. The hottest, most sensational story in the sports world right now isn't just about a bad photograph. It is about a direct, public, and absolutely savage call-out from Caitlin Clark herself, aimed straight at the Indiana Fever's official social media team. When the Fever posted a heavily edited, completely bizarre AI-distorted image of Clark to hype up the fan base, the superstar point guard did not just roll her eyes and ignore it. She went straight into the comments for millions to see and asked the exact question every single fan was already thinking, what in the AI is this? This one single razor-sharp comment has ignited an absolute firestorm across the sports internet. Fans are completely losing their minds, and the narrative has rapidly shifted from the Fever's actual performance on the basketball court to a much more embarrassing and damaging question. How on earth can a professional sports team that has reportedly made tens of millions of dollars off a rookie's back already be cutting corners on something as basic, fundamental, and necessary as a professional photographer? The backlash was immediate, brutal, and highly entertaining for everyone except the Fever's PR team. Fans flooded the post, echoing a brutal sentiment that quickly began trending across platforms. They blew all that money from her rookie year already. This isn't just a minor social media mistake or a small typo. This is a full-blown public relations nightmare that touches on themes of authenticity, respect, and the deeply questionable financial management of a franchise that was handed a once-in-a-generation miracle and is now being widely accused of disrespecting her image. To truly understand why this is such a massive, headline-dominating deal, we have to look back at the context of Caitlin Clark's highly anticipated arrival in Indiana. Before the draft, the Fever were a struggling franchise desperately trying to find their footing. They had talent, but they lacked the undeniable, electrifying spark that commands national television audiences. Then came the Caitlin Clark effect. It was not just a wave, it was a financial tsunami. Within mere months, the team went from playing in half-empty gymnasiums to consistently selling out massive, NBA-sized arenas both at home and on the road. The revenue generated from her jersey sales alone was reportedly enough to shift the financial trajectory of the entire merchandising department. The WNBA as a whole signed massive new media rights deals, and the Indiana Fever abruptly became the absolute center of the basketball universe. Every single time Caitlin Clark breathes, it is a headline. Every time she shoots from the logo, it is a viral clip that circulates the globe. So, when the official team account, the very entity responsible for representing her to the world and building her legacy, decides to use a cheap-looking, distorted, uncanny valley AI filter instead of a professional, high-quality photograph, it feels like a massive slap in the face. It feels cheap. It feels completely lazy. And most importantly, to the fans and clearly to Caitlin herself, it feels like they are taking her immense value for granted. Let's break down the actual image in question. It was supposed to be a standard hype post, a way to celebrate her presence and keep the fans engaged. But the artificial intelligence rendering was so poorly executed and so obviously fake that it heavily distorted her natural features, making her look like a glitchy, non-playable character from a budget video game, rather than the globally recognized face of a professional sports league. Her eyes looked lifeless. The lighting made absolutely no physical sense, and the texture of the uniform looked like melted plastic. In an era where authenticity is absolutely everything, especially for the Gen Z and millennial fans who follow Clark religiously and scrutinize every single post, using generative AI to replace a real, authentic human moment is the ultimate corporate sin. When Caitlyn commented, "What in the AI is this?" she wasn't just making a lighthearted joke. She was actively setting a boundary. She was telling her own team, in front of the entire world, that she is a real person, a real athlete who sweats and bleeds for that jersey. And she deserves much better than a heavily filtered, artificially generated hallucination. The fans instantly took that energy and ran a marathon with it. The comment section of that Instagram post rapidly transformed into a digital graveyard for the Fever's social media reputation. People started digging deep into the team's finances and organizational choices. They aggressively pointed out that with the sheer amount of money pouring in from massive corporate sponsors, sponsorships that are entirely centered around the hype Clark generated, there is absolutely zero excuse for the Fever not to have a top-tier, dedicated photography and creative team following her every single move. The phrase "they blew all that money" started as a sarcastic jab in the replies, but it quickly evolved into a serious, widespread critique of how the organization is spending its newfound wealth. Fans are demanding to know, are they actually investing in the players? Are they investing in the brand? Or are they just pocketing the profits while outsourcing their social media management to cheap AI prompt generators? This situation highlights a massive disconnect between Caitlyn Clark's personal brand and the Indiana Fever's organizational standards. Look at Caitlyn's personal endorsement deals. She works with massive global titans like Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm. When Nike puts out an ad featuring Caitlyn Clark, it is a cinematic masterpiece. It is shot on high-end cameras by world-renowned sports photographers who understand how to capture the intensity, the passion, and the reality of the game. Gatorade commercials treat her like a superhero, utilizing top-tier lighting, incredible sets, and brilliant creative direction. She is accustomed to being treated as a premium, elite brand. So, for her to then log onto Instagram and see her own team, the team she is actively carrying to relevance, posting a weird, distorted AI cartoon of her, the contrast is jarring and frankly insulting. It exposes a deeply amateurish side to the Fever's front office that fans are no longer willing to tolerate. Historically, in the world of professional sports, rookies are expected to be quiet, submissive, and grateful just to be there. The old-school mentality dictates that a first-year or second-year player should never rock the boat, let alone publicly mock their own team's front office or marketing staff. But Caitlyn Clark is not a normal player, and she is entirely rewriting the rules of player empowerment in the WNBA. By calling out the team directly, she is demonstrating a level of confidence and leverage that is extremely rare. She knows exactly how valuable she is. She knows that she holds the cards. If she is unhappy with how her image is being utilized and degraded by cheap technological shortcuts, she has the power to say something about it, knowing full well that millions of fans will instantly rally to her defense. And rally they did. The fans acted as a massive amplifier for her dissatisfaction, turning a single comment into a PR crisis that the Fever management was forced to silently endure, as the screenshots circulated endlessly on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Furthermore, this embarrassing incident forces us to look at the broader, highly controversial trend of sports teams attempting to use artificial intelligence to cut corners. Across the entire sports landscape, teams are constantly trying to churn out massive amounts of content to feed the social media algorithm. In their desperation to post 3, 4, or 5 times a day, some lazy marketing departments have started turning to AI image generators to create graphics instead of paying graphic designers and photographers. It is a cost-cutting measure, plain and simple. But fans are not stupid. They can spot an AI-generated image from a mile away. They notice the weird fingers, the nonsensical background details, and the unnatural smoothness of the skin. When a team uses AI for a random bench player or a generic stadium shot, it might go unnoticed. But when you use it on the most scrutinized, heavily photographed female athlete on the planet, you are practically begging to be publicly humiliated. The Indiana Fever's social media team fundamentally underestimated their audience's intelligence and vastly underestimated Caitlin Clark's willingness to tolerate mediocrity. The narrative of blowing all the money is particularly damaging because it feeds into a pre-existing anxiety among the fan base. Ever since Clark was drafted, there has been a lingering fear that the Indiana Fever organization is simply not equipped to handle a star of this magnitude. Fans have constantly scrutinized the coaching decisions, the travel arrangements, the security details, and the roster construction, always questioning if the team is doing enough to support their golden goose. The revenue Clark brought in during her rookie season was historic. We are talking about sold-out stadiums across the entire country, shattered television ratings every time they played on national broadcast, and merchandise that was back-ordered for months because the demand was so impossibly high. Millions upon millions of dollars flooded into the organization's coffers. Therefore, the optics of the team utilizing a free or cheap AI program to generate a hype graphic is a catastrophic failure of public relations. It sends a terrible message that despite the massive financial windfall, the ownership is still operating with a minor league, poverty franchise mindset. Think about the psychological impact this has on the team dynamic as well. Professional athletes want to feel respected by their employers. They want to know that the organization values their image and their legacy. When a player logs onto their team's social media and sees a high-definition, beautifully color-graded, expertly captured action shot of themselves, it builds pride. It makes them feel like a superstar. When they see a weird AI manipulation that makes them look like a melting wax figure, it breeds resentment. It makes them question the competence of the people working upstairs. Caitlin's comment, "What in the AI is this?" AGN, is heavily laced with Gen Z sarcasm. But beneath the humor is a very real, very sharp critique of incompetence. It is a public demand for the organization to step up and act like the major market franchise that her talent has forced them to become. What makes this situation even more compelling for the fans is the absolute silence from the Indiana Fever organization in the immediate aftermath. How do you respond to your franchise player roasting you in your own comment section? If they delete the post, they admit defeat and draw even more attention to the mistake, prompting fans to circulate the saved screenshots even wider. If they leave it up, it remains a permanent monument to their marketing failure, accumulating thousands of mocking comments by the hour. It is a lose-lose situation, created entirely by their own unforced error. The fans, sensing blood in the water, showed absolutely no mercy. Comments like, "You guys are embarrassing her," and "Please hire a real photographer, I will literally chip in $5, flooded the feed. The fan base took it upon themselves to defend Caitlin's brand against her own team, which is a bizarre and unprecedented dynamic in sports media. This saga also perfectly highlights the incredible power of the Caitlin Clark effect extended to the digital realm. Her influence is so massive that a simple 5-word comment can become the leading sports story of the week, generating countless reaction videos, podcast segments, and deep dive analyses just like this one. She commands the attention of the internet in a way that no other current basketball player, male or female, truly matches in terms of pure, visceral engagement. People care deeply about how she is treated. They view her not just as an athlete, but as a cultural icon who represents the explosive growth and long overdue validation of women's sports. Because of this, any perceived slight against her, even something as seemingly trivial as a bad Instagram graphic, is treated as a high crime by her devoted followers. Moving forward, the Indiana Fever organization is going to have to do some serious soul-searching. This AI incident serves as a massive wake-up call. They can no longer operate like it is 2023. They have been elevated to the global stage, and with that elevation comes an intense, unforgiving level of scrutiny. Every single graphic, every single video, every single press release is going to be analyzed by millions of people. If they truly want to retain Caitlin Clark long-term and keep her happy in Indiana, They have to surround her with excellence, not just on the basketball court, but in every single department of the franchise. They need to invest that rookie year money back into the infrastructure. Hire the best photographers. Bring in top-tier creative directors. Build a marketing machine that matches the brilliance of the player they are marketing. Until they do that, they will continue to face the wrath of a fan base that expects nothing less than perfection for their superstar. Ultimately, this entire merch masala drama serves as a hilarious but deeply telling cautionary tale for every sports franchise in the world. Artificial intelligence might be able to write an email, and it might be able to generate a weird background, but it absolutely cannot replace the authentic, human connection that drives sports fandom. And more importantly, you can never, ever outsmart a fan base that is fiercely protective of their star. Caitlin Clark proved once again that she never misses. Whether she is pulling up from 30 feet on the court or dropping a savage reality check in the Instagram comments. The ball is now firmly in the Indiana Fever's court, and the entire world is waiting to see if they will finally start spending that money the right way, or if they will continue to be the punchline to their own superstars' jokes.